Hey gamers, Maniac here with Mind of Maniac doing the newest episode. For those of you guys who have seen my previous video earlier in the week where I talked about the history of the memory card, this video is a sister video to that, or a continuation if you will, where I'm talking about the future of the memory card. I'd like to thank you guys who commented on the previous one with your thoughts about it. What I'd like to talk about just really briefly before I start talking about the future is currently the present. The reason why I decided to cut this video into two parts is because, let's face it, it was getting a bit too long and I kind of thought that I was in a good spot to stop. In the case of what's coming up now, I neglected to mention specifically what was going on with the handheld devices, that sort of thing. I didn't talk about the PlayStation Vita and I didn't talk about the Nintendo 3DS, which both have their own little memory card options. Well, that having been said, I really didn't like the memory card options that are kind of, I don't think that those memory card options that are currently available on those two handhelds are as viable memory card options as the previous ones were from the past generations. And the reason why is because they both kind of have their own limitations. Whereas the other ones would be limited solely by space, and how many saves you could fit on them, that sort of thing. These are limited in their own ways. The Nintendo 3DS, for example, relies on that expanded memory for most of its data. It's kind of integral to all the data that's in there. The system needs to know everything that's going on, and if that card is removed, something may break. The Nintendo 3DS might break, actually. In fact, it's very, very, very clear in the manual, certain do's and do nots. It does come with expanded memory, but they are quite clear. 1, don't remove the memory while the system is in use. 2, only replace the memory with a larger capacity one, but make sure if you do to transfer every single file and every bit of data from one system, from one card, from your previous card to the new one before putting in the new card. That sort of thing. You can't, like, for example, with the PSP, hot swap out, a game here, a game there, that sort of thing. It's not allowed. What is allowed, however, is that you are, there's a few options. One, you can change out the memory with something of large capacity. It's pretty wide about its, what it can take, and it's an open, it's an open format that a lot of manufacturers can deal with. So you might have a good shot of getting a good deal on expanded memory. The PS Vita, on the other hand, has a similar philosophy to what the PSP is. Now, I don't have a PS Vita, so I really can't totally comment on how it deals with files just from what I've read. But I was one of the first people to actually demo a PS Vita way back in 2011 at E3. And they lock the memory cards that the PS Vita uses specifically to each individual, specific PlayStation Network account. That means that I can't just take my data out of my PS Vita and try it on a friend's PS Vita and that sort of thing. I can't give my PS Vita card to a friend without him having to wipe it first, that sort of thing. It's that's kind of annoying. On top of that, the PS Vita cards are proprietary and they're very, 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 very expensive. More expensive than they should be. That's what a lot of people have said. They're way more expensive than what an SDHC card would have that Nintendo 3DS would use, that sort of thing. So they all have their strengths and their weaknesses. I don't know if the PS Vita may be hot swappable or not. I'm not totally certain. I don't think it is. I think that if you have data inside your PS Vita, you're going to want to keep it in there until you have to upgrade it, that sort of thing. But one thing I really liked about, at least for this is going to get started a little bit into our future conversation. Nintendo decided to kind of do something, kind of turn the memory card on its head and use it for a different purpose than what we have seen it used before. Previously, we've seen memory cards hold save games and that sort of thing. But Nintendo decided to kind of take it and turn it into something new, and basically turn it into a key, practically. A key to a new system, or a profile key. I never thought of that. That was just something that Nintendo came up with on their own. That was a great idea. I got to give Nintendo props for that. If you had, in the early days, if you had a Nintendo DS, all your saves would be stored on the game cards themselves. The games would have their own little memory backup or something like that. So if I decided to upgrade from, let's say, a Nintendo DS to a DS Lite or something like that, all I'd have to do was basically just keep my games, and sell my old unit. The internal memory on a DS was not, was not needed. It would have its own memory, but that kind of data, it wouldn't be nothing important in there other than maybe just, a couple of date and time and that sort of thing. And maybe your Wi-Fi settings. But for the most part, your save games were still intact on your original game cartridges. In the case of the Nintendo DSi, it offered expanded memory for downloadable games. So you would have downloadable games on a DSi, it would have its own internal memory, but you can expand it with an SD or SDHC card, that sort of thing. But by the time the Nintendo 3DS came out, Nintendo pushed hard for downloadable games. And fine, you can do, that's great. I really liked what they were doing with the Nintendo's 3DS's Virtual Console, that sort of thing. I'm really excited for what the future has in store for that Virtual Console. Here's the kicker though. Anything that you download is stored on that SD card. If I decide to upgrade from, let's say, a Nintendo 3DS to a Nintendo 3DS XL, I want to be able to transfer all my data from one device to another. If it's not just stored on game packs or game carts, whatever you want to call them, I can't just take the memory card from one device and transfer it to another. There has to be some, it might break something basically. But Nintendo actually decided to do something interesting with it. They offered a data transfer utility as part of the 3DS firmware, and it's included with the DSi as an extra download or something like that. They upgraded the DSi to have that firmware, to have that transfer tool in there. And this is the way it works. As long as you have two 3DS or DSi devices, and you need to be able, you want to transfer it one way from one system to another. All your purchased content, all of your saved games, your downloaded content would all transfer along with that. This is the kicker. They both have to be on the same network. That network has to be connected to the internet, and you need to have a SD card as an encryption key, basically. This is almost like a theft deterrent, actually. The two devices have to be worked in conjunction, so both systems have to agree with each other. And I really like that, actually, because Nintendo did work in a way to idiot-proof the thing so that nobody could actually initiate something and then end up breaking something unless they absolutely missed a step. There are still some problems with it, but let's say if you lost your memory card before the transfer was complete, who knows what happens, that sort of thing. But in the case of, and actually it worked so well that when the chime came when the Wii U was released, one of the first things I did when I upgraded my Wii U's firmware was a total data transfer from a Wii to a Wii U. And it worked along the same basic lines. It's just the Pikmin did all of the work for me. This, in the same case, if you had on your person, trust me, most people do, an SDHC card or an SD card with at least 512 memory, megabytes. I think that's because that's the storage capacity of an internal storage capacity of a regular Wii. You can move all your data from the Wii to the Wii U. That includes your saved games, that includes your purchased content, that includes the downloaded stuff, WiiWare games, Virtual Console stuff, all that good stuff. That's awesome. That was great. That was one of the reasons why I bought a Wii U day one, was it was so convenient to transfer my Wii content. In a similar respect, you could do that with a PS3 if you had a backwards compatibility with PS1 and PS2 games, but you needed a little second tool. Sony actually released an adapter, which I showed you guys in the previous video, where you could take the data that was on your PS1 or PS2 memory cards, and using the adapter plus a USB cable that would come with your console, you would use that for your controller charger, basically. You could transfer the data manually to virtual memory cards inside the PS3, so you wouldn't lose any of your game progress on your PS1 or PS2 games if you were playing those games on your PS3. Great! Xbox 360 never did anything like that. They never offered any type of Xbox to Xbox 360 transfer tool. And trust me, I really would have liked to have that just for Halo 2 saves in the first place. But I had to go back, and if I wanted to replay the games, I had to go back and replay all the games. I had to go back and re-download all the content, that sort of thing. That's not even an option anymore for Xbox One games. I'm sorry, original Xbox games. Original Xbox access has been shut down to Xbox Live backwards compatible games. You can't access Xbox Live, so therefore you can't access any of the DLC, that sort of thing anymore. So it would have been nice to have that transfer utility or some other type of transfer device for that sort of thing. At least I think so. Now, That all having been said, I want to talk a little bit about the future, because that is what this video is titled. What do I think is going to be happening for the future of the memory card? Where do I think it's going? I honestly don't think the memory card's future, like I said, right now, the current status is that the memory card's present is the USB sticks, or SD cards, that sort of thing. They're ubiquitous, you can get them anywhere, they work on your computer, they work on consoles. You needed a firmware update for the Xbox 360, but the PS3 uses them right out of the box. You can use them for expanded memory on the Wii U. You have to format them on the Xbox 360, but hey, they work. You know, that sort of thing works. So right now, our memory cards are little USB sticks, and that's great, that's fine. I can bring my USB stick with me anywhere, attached to my keychain, that sort of thing. Where do I think the future is coming is a lot more interesting. Now, one of the things that Microsoft really talked about with the Xbox One was the Xbox One connectivity to the cloud, and the possibilities that were offered through the Xbox's Live's cloud with the Xbox One. I was listening to that conversation quite closely. Theoretically, well, we all know that the Xbox One is going to be coming with the Kinect, a new version Kinect, and they've already promised that the Kinect is going to have improved facial capture capabilities, possibly facial recognition capabilities. The original Kinect already has some facial recognition capabilities, but it's not perfect. The Kinect 2.0 does seem to improve a lot of these things by adding the IR and the higher resolution camera and that sort of thing. So it could deliver on a lot of the promises that the original Kinect had in the case of easy to recognize facial capture. They're also offering things like the cloud access for your games. Here's the fun part. Let's say, for example, in the future, and by that I mean the future generation consoles, I mean the PS4 is also coming with a camera of its own, although you'll have to buy it separately. I think the PS4 camera, it's a 3D camera, I think it's like $60 or so, and you'll have to buy it as a separate accessory. But part of the reason why I really liked the Xbox One was because the Kinect came with it, because it offered Kinect functionality out of the box. And I'm curious to see what features they'll have for Xbox Live subscribers and features that they'll have for Xbox One games. Now that the Kinect is an included accessory, I'm curious to see what the innovation is. And here's where I think the innovation could be. What if we become the memory cards? They're already talking about this possibility in the future consoles. Even the PS4 is saying, oh, you'll be able to pick up we'll do full system standbys, we'll have save states, we'll have everything. So all you have to do is want to play your game, and you'll be able to pick it up immediately when you start it. No need about worrying about shutting down or anything like that. Well, let's say, for example, I have a game that I want to play at a friend's house, and I want to load my profile or my saves. Currently, if I want to have to do that, I have to transfer my data to a memory card, or back it up, or copy it to a memory card or USB device. Bring the game and my USB device over to a friend's house and play, and transfer it into their system and play, or load it to their from the profile and play. What if we can skip a step? Now let's talk about the cloud, for example. Now I know what you're probably saying. Cloud is in the future. We've already got cloud integration. Steam offers it. Xbox Live offers it. PlayStation Plus offers it. True. I don't know how much I like the current option. Steam is great because I really liked it with Steam. With the Steam Cloud syncing is that it does an automatic sync at startup or at game end and that sort of thing. So it seamlessly will sync your save to the cloud and back from the cloud. I've only tested that with Portal 2's PlayStation 3 version, but I was impressed by what it offered with the Steam Cloud Access integration, that sort of thing. That's a great system. As far as I've seen with the Xbox Live's Cloud's offering, though, they only offered it for basically syncing it similar to, let's say, a memory card syncs. Meaning that I could either choose the cloud as a storage option at startup of a game, or I could manually back up my saves to the cloud, or into the cloud device, copy them. But this is what I don't like about them. I might as well have a USB stick if I'm going to do it in that method. It's faster to sync games to through USB locally than it is to store that data to the cloud. It always will be. Online, it's no different than basically, what would you prefer? Let's say, for example, I decide I want to transfer a file from one system to another. I have two options. I can upload it to a spot online, bring it to another computer and download it from that spot. Who knows how long it's going to take to upload or download that particular file, restricted by my internet uploads and download speeds, as well as the server's uploads and download speeds. Or I can pull a memory unit out of my pocket, sync it to, copy it to that, bring it upstairs or we're in another room or whatever, and download the file from there. That's going to be the fastest way. What if in the future you won't need to even worry about that? Cloud integration will automatically sync. So if I play a game, it'll store a local copy of that save game, but if it's connected to the cloud, it will automatically and seamlessly sync. It will check itself and it will sync those automatically. So it'll check itself. Do I have that file? No, I don't have that file. Which file is more recent? That sort of thing. I'll copy that file while he's playing his game. If it's not connected, it's like, okay, I don't have cloud access right now. When I get cloud access, I'll do a sync. That would be interesting. Now, I know that a lot of people would probably say that'd be a bandwidth issue, and it might be, but for just saves are only usually a couple kilobytes it's not going to break the bank, basically. Sure, you could have a lot of saves, but usually that's not really going to break the bank bandwidth-wise. You're more likely to break the bank downloading full games or streaming, and maybe not even streaming games, but downloading full games or downloading large DLC. That's more likely to break the bank. I understand you probably do that less often, but even if you did a lot of syncing with clouds, depending upon how small those file sizes were, you'd probably be better off. That having been said, how are you going to secure that system? This is the other future idea. Like I said before, the Xbox One is coming with a Kinect out of the box. PlayStation 4 will offer a camera as an extra optional accessory. Let's say, for example, and this is what I was theorizing right after the Xbox One was announced. Let's say, for example, we already know the Kinect has facial recognition functionality. What if I become my own memory unit? What if I start playing a game on my system, it knows who I am, it loads my profile, that sort of thing, and I want to play the same game over a friend's house who also happens to have that game in an Xbox One. We're going to play cooperatively or something like that. Well, my friend's got to load their profile and I got to load my profile. What would be interesting would be, let's say, for example, I wouldn't need to bring a memory card to a friend's house. Instead, my face or my voice or my password, in conjunction with a password or something like that, would be my login, all the login information that I would need on my friend's Xbox One. It would load my profile, all the saves that were loaded on the cloud, and I could play with my friend with nothing lost on their Xbox One. The second I leave, that data is either deleted or removed, and they can't access it because they don't have my face. It's kind of like an extra security feature. Like I said, maybe they may be moving away from memory units as a storage device, and more of memory is like if everything is being stored online in the future, memory cards would be more of a security device instead. There are three forms of security, and most security systems, at least well-designed security systems, will pick 2 out of 3. It usually doesn't matter which 2. The first form of security is usually something that you know. Password, that sort of thing. You could create it yourself or it could be given to you, that sort of thing, but something that you know. Second form of security would be something that you have. Driver's license, ATM card, credit card, identification of some sort, maybe even a cell phone someday. That'd be kind of interesting. If smart glass functionality, my profiles could be stored on my cell phone. That'd be something kind of interesting. Maybe my cell phone could become the next major Xbox memory unit or something like that. That'd be kind of interesting. Instead of swiping, a password, I just swipe my phone over the Kinect or something like that. That'd be kind of cool. But that would probably take a rewrite of the smart glass functionality. In the case of the smart glass functionality, I think it's all passive streamed content to and back from the Xbox Live profile. I don't think it actually you can't really create stuff in it. You would have to be logged in and pull information that's been from the cloud and then put information back if you change something. Nothing really stored in the smart glass itself. The other thing would be something that you are. So we've already talked about something you know. We've already talked about something that you have. Card, phone, that sort of thing. Last thing is something that you are. You don't normally see that in security systems. However, guys who do high security systems actually will. Now, something that you are is literally your physical body, a physical trait of yours that can be replicated but only by you. Thumbprint, retinal scan, facial scan, DNA. A lot of it wouldn't be foolproof. Twins would be, twins might have a problem with the system, that sort of thing. At least identical twins. And who knows if they're, what brothers would have or sisters would have with those kind of problems or something like that. They might be, they might look very, similar and might have a problem with that. But for the most part, that would be a viable interest. What if, for example, I would need to bring a memory unit over to my friend's house to play Dead Rising 3 or Quantum Break or something like that? I just had to stand in front of the Kinect and it would automatically load my profile because it would recognize my face or my voice. Load my profile, load my saves. That would be interesting. That would be an interesting thing. I would probably prefer that it would be some kind of secondary security system in place, whether it be a password or a phone or a memory unit or something like that. But that would be interesting, don't you think? Now, the last time I talked about this sort of thing, well, at least where I predicted the future, was when I did the Future of the Controller Minded Maniac, and this was a couple of months ago. It was by request, actually, where I took a whole bunch of different controllers and control options and things like that, and I predicted where I felt the controller was going, or what the future of the controller would be. And FYI, I don't know if you guys, you can look it up on my YouTube channel if you want, but I predicted that the future of the controller would be a conjunction between a regular controller, almost similar in style to an Xbox 360 controller or a DualShock controller, something along those lines, but a regular controller as it is, in conjunction with gesture and voice. That these systems would be working in conjunction together. That would be the future. So not only would you have a controller itself, but that would be complemented by gesture recognition, voice recognition, facial recognition. So basically a Kinect in conjunction with a controller would be the future. Well, guess what? Have you seen what's possible with the Xbox One and PlayStation 4? I think I called it. I'm just saying, I think I called it. My guess that the future may be that we may become the future memory cards. That it might move from memory being stored on those cards to them just becoming some kind of security feature, basically. Nintendo's already done it, and in all likelihood, if they're going to bring in something like facial capture possibilities with the Xbox One, then you're probably going to want a secondary system just to make sure that the thing works okay. And for all we know, a memory unit could just be that. Or a pad, that's it. It's interesting. It's really interesting to see what the future may bring. But that's my guess. I want to hear what you think. Post a comment below, and we'll see what you guys say. Until next time, guys, I'm going to see you guys at ConnecticCon 2013, for those of you guys who are going to be coming. This is Maniac with GameAccess.net. Over and out.